What if the reason you still have belly fat has absolutely nothing to do with how much you eat? What if the real problem isn't your diet, your workouts, or even your metabolism, but one small, overlooked moment that happens every single evening, a moment most people never pay attention to? That idea sounds almost too simple to be true, but when you look at the science behind how your body actually functions at night, it changes everything. We've been sold one story for decades.
Shush, quiet!
Eat less,
Crunch!
move
Stop
more,
that
and the fat
crunching!
will disappear. And yet, millions of people are doing exactly that and still waking up every morning with the same stubborn belly. Not because they're failing, but because they're missing something biology already knows. Today, we're going to uncover what that something is and why the most powerful moment for fat loss doesn't happen in the gym or at the dinner table. It happens in the quiet hours after the world goes dark. Here's what most people don't realize. The human body is not a calculator. It doesn't simply add up calories and subtract them like a math problem. It operates more like an orchestra with dozens of biological instruments playing in rhythm, each one responding to time,
Hi, how's it going?
light,
Pretty good, you?
hormones, and
Doing great.
routine. When that orchestra is in sync, the body does remarkable things while you sleep. It repairs tissue, balances hormones, and quietly taps into stored fat as fuel. But when that rhythm is disrupted, even slightly, even by something as innocent as a late-night snack, the entire performance falls apart. The orchestra stops playing, and the body shifts into a completely different mode, one focused not on burning fat, but on storing it. And the part of your body where it stores the most is deep in the abdomen, surrounding your vital organs. That's the fat that's hardest to lose, and the reason it's so stubborn comes down entirely to timing. Think about your average day. During daylight hours, most people are reasonably disciplined. They eat decent meals, they stay active, they make conscious choices. But as the evening sets in, something shifts. The
All right,
kitchen
fatty acids are
calls.
flowing in.
A snack
Time
here,
to convert
a
them.
bite there,
And here come the
a bowl
ketone
of something
bodies.
before
Success!
bed. None of it feels harmful. In fact, most of it is what most people would call healthy. Yogurt, nuts, a piece of fruit, maybe a small dessert. But what's happening inside the body during those quiet evening hours is far more complex than the food itself. The body, by that point, is already beginning to
Initiate
prepare
shutdown
for
sequence.
night.
Deactivating production
Hormone
lines.
levels
Tank
are
secured.
shifting,
Systems down. Shutdown
internal
complete.
temperatures are slightly dropping, the brain is beginning to wind down, and right in the middle of that transition, food arrives. And when food arrives, everything stops. The reason everything stops comes down to one hormone: insulin. Insulin is not your enemy. It's actually a brilliant, hard-working hormone whose entire job is to move energy from the food you eat into your cells. Every time you eat, insulin rises. That's completely normal. The problem is what insulin does to fat burning while it's on duty. When insulin is elevated, your body cannot access stored fat. Full stop. It's not a preference or a tendency, it's a biological lock. The body will not burn stored fuel while it's still processing incoming fuel. It simply does not work that way. So when you eat late in the evening, insulin shows up for another shift, just as your body was preparing to switch gears. And as long as insulin is working, the fat-burning switch stays off. You might sleep 8 hours, wake up feeling rested, and have no idea that your body spent the entire night in storage mode rather than fat-burning mode. No alarm goes off. There's no warning. The failure is completely silent. What makes this even more striking is what's happening on the hormonal side of things at night. Around the time the sun sets, your brain begins releasing a hormone called melatonin. Most people know melatonin as the sleep hormone, but its role goes deeper than just making you feel drowsy. Melatonin is essentially a biological sunset signal. It tells every system in your body that the day is over, that food intake should stop, and that it's time to shift into rest and repair mode. As melatonin rises, insulin sensitivity naturally decreases. The body is literally expecting that no more food is coming. It's preparing to operate on stored fuel through the night. But here's where it gets complicated. When you eat late and insulin rises at the same time melatonin is rising, you create a conflict inside your own biology. Two hormones with completely opposing jobs are fighting for control. And when that happens, blood sugar is cleared more slowly, glucose lingers in the bloodstream longer, and the body, unsure of what to do, takes the safest option available. It stores the excess energy in the deepest, most protected fat reservoir it has, visceral belly fat. Night after night, this silent conflict quietly builds the very fat that feels impossible to lose.
Now imagine what happens when you break that pattern, when dinner ends earlier, and we'll talk about exactly what that means in a moment. Insulin has time to finish its work and step aside before melatonin rises. The two hormones no longer overlap, they no longer compete. The body receives one clear, unified signal. The day is done, intake has stopped, and it's safe to begin repair. In that state, something remarkable happens between roughly 2 a.m. and the early hours before dawn. Insulin is low, melatonin is guiding sleep, and the body quietly opens what you might think of as the overnight fat-burning window. This isn't a metaphor, it's a real metabolic state where the body, starved of incoming energy and fully trusting its stored reserves, begins pulling fuel directly from visceral fat. The liver takes those released fatty acids and converts them into ketone bodies, a clean, stable fuel source that powers the brain, the heart, and vital organs through the night. While you're sleeping peacefully, your body is running on stored belly fat, and you feel absolutely nothing because that's exactly how biology designed it to work. But this window is fragile, almost shockingly fragile. One late snack, even something small, even something healthy, sends one unmistakable signal to the body. Energy is still arriving. Insulin rises, ketone production stops, the fat-burning window shuts down completely, and it won't open again until the next night, assuming you get the timing right again. This is why so many people who eat well, exercise regularly, and try hard still can't shift stubborn belly fat. They're simply never giving their body enough uninterrupted quiet at night to reach this window. The body isn't broken, it's not resistant, it's just never given the chance to do what it was designed to do. And the fix isn't more discipline or more restriction, it's simply removing the obstacle that keeps the window closed: late eating. While that overnight fat-burning process is running, a third hormone quietly takes center stage: human growth hormone, or HGH. The name might make you think of athletes or anti-aging treatments, but HGH is something your own body produces naturally and powerfully every single night, provided insulin is low enough to allow it. Think of HGH as the night shift manager of your body. Once insulin steps back and the body enters metabolic quiet, HGH takes charge, and its instructions are very specific: protect muscle, reinforce tissue, repair damage, and for energy, use stored fat. This is the part most people miss when they think about overnight changes. That feeling of waking up slightly lighter, clothes fitting a little better, the waist feeling a bit more compact. People often dismiss it as water weight shifting. But what's actually happening is deeper than that. HGH has been directing genuine biological remodeling throughout the night. Muscle fibers are being reinforced, not lost. Bone is being subtly renewed, and fat, especially visceral fat, is being directed toward energy use rather than storage. The body isn't losing structure, it's trading excess fat for preserved strength, and doing it entirely while you sleep. The critical requirement for HGH to work properly is the same thing that allows the fat-burning window to open: low insulin. When late eating keeps insulin elevated through the night, HGH's signal gets blurred and weakened. The body defaults back to its protective mode, holding on to fat rather than using it. But when earlier eating creates the metabolic quiet HGH needs, everything works together. Fat loss and muscle preservation stop competing with each other. The body achieves both simultaneously, quietly and efficiently, without any extra effort from you. And the evidence shows up in the morning, not in dramatic ways, but in small, unmistakable ones. a steadier feeling, a calmer hunger, a sense of physical order that's hard to put into words but impossible to ignore once you experience it. That brings us to what mornings actually reveal about the night before, because your morning is essentially a report card for how well your body was allowed to work while you slept. When the night goes well, insulin drops, melatonin flows, HGH does its work, and the fat-burning window opens, mornings feel fundamentally different. Hunger upon waking is calm and stable. There's no desperate, urgent need to eat immediately, no shakiness, no irritability. This isn't willpower, it's ghrelin, the hunger hormone following the rhythm your body has learned. When the body spent the night using stored fuel efficiently, it wakes up trusting that fuel is available. It doesn't panic, it doesn't flood you with cravings. Insulin sensitivity also peaks in the morning after a well-aligned night, meaning when you do eat breakfast, your body handles it beautifully, smooth, efficient, no spikes, no crashes. Energy feels steady, focus feels clear, and decisions, including food decisions, feel easier and more natural, not because you're trying harder, but because your biology isn't working against you. So how do you actually apply this? The answer is simpler than most people expect, and it starts by letting go of the idea that you need a rigid rule. 6 p.m. is a useful reference point because it's memorable and practical for many people, but it's not a biological law carved in stone. What your body actually needs is a consistent buffer between your last meal and the time you go to sleep, roughly 3 to 4 hours. That window is what allows insulin to complete its work, melatonin to rise without conflict, and all the nighttime processes we've talked about to unfold without interruption. If you're currently eating dinner at 9 p.m. and sleep at 11, your body is getting almost no metabolic quiet before rest begins. That's not a character flaw, it's just a timing problem, and timing problems are fixable. The most effective way to start is not to make a dramatic cut overnight. Gradual rhythm shifts work far better than sudden changes because the body adapts to rhythm far more willingly than it adapts to shock. If you're eating at 9, try moving to 8:30 for a few nights, then 8, then 7:30. Each small shift gives your hormones time to adjust, your hunger signals time to recalibrate, and your evenings time to feel natural rather than deprived. Within a few weeks, most people find that the late-night urge to eat wasn't hunger at all. It was habit, boredom, or the body's response to bright screens telling the brain the day wasn't over yet. Speaking of which, light matters enormously here. Bright light, and especially the blue light from phones and televisions, suppresses melatonin and signals to the brain that it should stay alert and keep eating. Dimming your environment after dinner, switching to warmer light, and reducing screen exposure even 30 to 40 minutes earlier than usual can meaningfully support your body's transition into night mode. Small environmental changes can make the hormonal shift happen more naturally and more completely.
If an evening craving appears and feels overwhelming, it helps to recognize what it usually is, not true biological hunger, but a conditioned signal. A warm cup of herbal tea, a glass of water, or simply brushing your teeth can be enough to tell the brain that eating time is over. You're not fighting willpower here, you're redirecting a habit loop, and that's a very different kind of effort. One requires brute force, the other just requires a small, intentional signal. The body is remarkably good at learning new signals when they're applied consistently. After just a few weeks of earlier eating, most people report that the evening urge to snack fades significantly, almost on its own, because the body's hunger rhythm has shifted to match the new pattern. That's biology adapting, not discipline hardening. The deeper truth behind all of this is that sustainable fat loss was never supposed to feel like a fight. When people describe fat loss as a battle, against cravings, against their body, against their own hunger, it's usually a sign that their biology is out of sync with their behavior. The body is pulling one way and willpower is pulling the other. That is exhausting, and it's why most approaches eventually fail. But when you stop fighting and start aligning, when you create the conditions that allow your body's own systems to do their jobs, fat loss becomes less of a war and more of a process. a quiet, consistent biological process that happens largely while you're asleep and that you wake up to find has been working on your behalf all night long. You don't need to eat less until you're miserable. You don't need to train harder until you're broken. You don't need more discipline, more restriction, or a more perfect diet plan. What you need is to stop interrupting the night. Stop sending food into a system that's trying to shift into repair mode. Stop keeping insulin elevated while melatonin is trying to rise. Stop closing the fat-burning window before it ever gets a chance to open. Your body has been designed over thousands of years to use the night as a time of deep restoration and intelligent energy management. All it needs is for you to get out of its way. When you give it that quiet, when you let insulin fall, when you let melatonin lead and HGH manage the night shift, your body does the rest. Belly fat stops being a fortress and starts becoming fuel, and morning stops being a struggle and starts being proof that something real is finally working.